Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Feature Discovery Series breakdown of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. This time, we're looking at cockpits, and I will let you know I was a little disappointed with this video that we didn't get to see anything from the Airbus A320neo or the 748 Intercontinental. So keep that in mind. We won't see any airline stuff here. We're just looking at the GA stuff, but there's a lot here to look at. The biggest takeaways of this one are realistic cockpits, the new glass cockpit engine with touchscreens, the new checklist system you're going to see in a minute, and it's tied directly to the sim. It has an assistance system in there, so if you're brand new to the sim, it's going to really help you, as you can see right there. It's going to help you see things light up. You'll be able to move them. And then also the immersive lighting that we're going to see of the 172 at night. The audio has been captured in high quality, which I already kind of got that from the gameplay that we have seen. And then the camera engine has been completely redone inside the sim. So very similar to what we see in X-Plane 11. You have a dynamic camera you can move around. It's a lot easier to move your camera where you want it to be. I don't know about presets. They didn't talk about anything like that, but I can guarantee you we've got much more control here. And I noticed in that shot right there, you're seeing like kind of a depth of field shot. So I'm assuming that might be built into the sim. We have no clue, but we have a lot of stuff to go through. We're going to break it down here today, and we're going to see what we have. So basically, starting out of the gate, we have high fidelity instruments, new simulated data, new lighting management like we talked about. Now they render, in the engine, they have a new rendering engine, I'll say that, for 2D and or 3D synthetic vision, which we're seeing. We're seeing the synthetic vision here on the screen. It looks fantastic. I like the frame rate that we're seeing because we all know the older FSX and prepared style was like a slideshow on the instruments. They were not very smooth at all. So another thing is that touchscreens are simulated and they are interactive. There's contextual cursors and tooltips, which is fantastic if you're brand new to the sim. Fully manual to assisted to fully automatic or skippable checklists. So you can have that whole, automated checklist system, or you can just completely turn it off and it won't even be a problem for you at all. You can just do it like you normally do in a sim. And I like that they're making this easy for new pilots, but they're also making it just how you would expect if you were a novice. And we're seeing right there how things light up blue, and it helps you learn the airplane systems. I love that. I absolutely do love that. And you have an option to get feedback on completion of those items, which is also great. Another thing that they talked about was new calibration tool that they have in the sim for peripherals, which is fantastic. We all know how daunting it was to go through and pretty much a task to set everything up in the old FSX days. So hopefully that's been redone. We didn't see a UI of that, but they do say they have a new calibration tool, and that should be great. Home cockpit builders friendly. Absolutely awesome to hear this. They already know that those guys out there that have home cockpits, they are here to assist you with that. Basically, they have extended their number of simulation variables, and they're giving those out. And they have multi-screen and multi-window support. So that's fantastic. If you have a home cockpit, this thing is ready to go. They already built a DR400 cockpit themselves that they're using the new sim on, which is really neat. New PBR deferred rendering engine in this thing. Screen space pixel, ambient occlusion and irradiance, screen space reflections, screen space shadows, and cascaded shadow maps. You can see how the shadows kind of remind me of like an X-Plane 11. They're really good, but these look super sharp. They look really nice. 4K PBR materials. You'll see that shot of the seats in the TBM. Looks great. So, I mean, we're talking high quality stuff here when it comes to the texture work in this simulator. To make the cockpits, they showed a little shot of them using like a laser scanner. So they have scanned these things, and that's why they're so accurate. Because they get the CAD files from the manufacturers themselves, but they also have done scans, taken video and pictures and you name it. And the way they showed them recording the audio, I saw like multiple microphones, and it makes sense, basically, with all of that. So the new cockpit cameras, those are pretty cool. I like the fact that you can easily move that camera around, make it dynamic. It's not so rigid as we have seen in the past. So that's wonderful. They have head movement and they have head movement simulation from the environment and the flight mechanics. So this is similar to XP Realistic Pro. I use that and X-Plane to get those head shake kind of movements, and when you touch down and things, that's built into the simulator. You don't need third-party software for that. So that's really cool. And that also helps you understand what the airplane's doing, which I'm on board with. So let's do the breakdown. We'll rewind it to the beginning. And what do we got here out of the gate? We're looking at the TBM. And wow, what a beauty. You know, seeing these 4K PBR textures, you can see that. Look at the scratches in the windows there on the right-hand side. And what I noticed right out of here is look at the grass. Look at the 3D grass. One thing that we did get a takeaway from the last video was that the grass blades look pretty big, and they look big here too. So I'm not sure if that they're going to have multiple styles of grass blades, but if we have 3D grass, I mean, I'm on board with that. But I love how it's desaturated enough, and it blends right in with the ground textures. You can see some buildings out in the distance there. On the left-hand side, you can see we're at Lima Foxtrot Bravo Hotel, and you're going to see a shot here. As we scroll through this thing, we're seeing like this panning happen with the camera, and I believe this is part of the new camera system because we've seen the exterior cameras look great, and I wasn't sure if they're using a fly camera themselves that they have inside their simulation, or they're just showcasing it. And it seems like everything they've shown so far is just showcasing what's in the sim. So I don't see why there would be any reason to not have that. Here we are looking at the DR400 flying over some beautiful landscape here. Nice clear day in the evening time. We can tell it's the evening time because the sun's not right off our nose here as we're facing east. And we're at 1,450 feet or so. Climbing ever so slightly, but you can see the bobbles, and I love the left-hand side of the DR400. You can see all like the GoPro little circles. They've modeled that into the glass, which is really nice. I love the scratches and all the imperfections in the cockpit itself. But they've really done a fantastic job for these to be default airplanes, and that's what I can't get over so far. You know, default airplanes are supposed to be default airplanes, and you're like, whatever, we'll get something else. These look like they're going to be good enough for you to fly right on day one, and that is really exciting. That's super, super good. And here we are seeing the Cessna 172 Skyhawk, the new night lighting engine. So we're seeing the synthetic vision here. We're still at that same airport. And we're looking around, and we can see the lights starting to slowly come to life. I love how dynamic that is. And here, look at this shot. This looks like a real GoPro at night flying around. Like, if you've seen GoPro footage of like a 172 flying at night, this is what it looks like. Like, I cannot get over how realistic the screens look, like the actual lighting and the intensity of everything compared to the ground. That is insanely good. And you'll notice the map lights as they come on. Now, this is something that we've had in X-Plane 11 for a long time. And I've always enjoyed that. Like, you could turn on a map light, move it around. They're showing off that they have absolute dynamic lighting. We know how back in the day we'd have FSX and we'd have that horrible pink light or, that magical cockpit light. We even get that in X-Plane 11 sometimes. But you can see right there, pretty darn cool. And you're noticing we're seeing some airplanes popping up on this G1000 simulation. Now, from what I have seen, it's not an actual G1000, and you'll see there's no Garmin insignia there. So this is just going to be their version of a G1000, it seems like. But it looks like it's quite detailed. You can see on the left-hand side, we got map range for inside and, zooming out, zooming in, the PFD map settings, traffic inset, PFD settings, OBS, not open broadcast software. It's your omnidirectional bearing selector. Then you've got active nav, which is set to FMS right there. So that tells you, hey, working FMSs. They did talk about that at XO19, that FMSs and McDo's, and all that stuff are all going to be represented in the simulator. So this just confirms that, we're active nav mode on FMS, and they're really showcasing that they're not messing around here. And this is kind of like that slow kind of panning shot, and I wonder if this is just built into the camera system now, or if they were using something for effect. But you can see there's depth of field, and we've seen depth of field in everything so far. So I don't know if that's an option or not. Here's a great shot of them using the G1000 system, and they're zooming out, and you can see all the intersections and all that. But look at the bottom on the MFD home. You've got a map, you got traffic, weather, and TAWS. That's all grayed out. And if you don't know what TAWS is, it's basically a warning system, alert system. You have a direct to, flight plan, procedure, charts, aircraft systems, music, utilities, speed bugs, waypoint info, and nearest. And on the right-hand side, you see PFD, MFD, Navcom, range is all right there as well. But the only things that are lit up right now are probably the only things that they have modeled at the time. But we do know there's traffic, and you'll see that a little bit later on here. The PFD home on the right-hand side, looks like we can change things with our PFD, which is the primary flight display. We've got nav source at FMS, OBS, CAS up, CAS down, bearing off, and bearing 2 is off there. Speed bugs, timers, minimums. There's a traffic map option there. And here we go. As we scroll through this and we zoom out, you're going to see all these airplanes showing up all over the place. Now, remember, they talked about they have ADS-B data that they can basically make live into the simulator. So the real airplanes that are there flying right now are flying in your simulator at the same time. And we're seeing the traffic on the map there. Not as your traditional little, not the traditional style of diamonds, but you're seeing actual airplanes themselves. And you see the airspace system there. Here he is trying to select a waypoint. So you have a direct to there with a select waypoint, bearing, distance, all that. You can cancel it, activate it. They have VNAV, altitude, VNAV offset. All this stuff is grayed out. However, it looks like that is going to be in here, which is really cool. So you'll have VNAV and LNAV, and that is that's above and beyond what we expected on day one when it comes to the aircraft cockpits. So waypoint identifier lookup. He's looking up a airport, Lima Hotel or Lima Echo Mike Delta is where they're going, and they're showing you just this is all here. So in Madrid, like I want to go there, boom, done. And we're going to see that come to life here in a second as we scroll through this. You still see the airplanes kind of moving. And there it was, boom, with a magenta line now. And that shows you, hey, we're ready to go to our destination. And you saw how it was done there through the MFD home. Here's a close-up shot of them en route here, en route, as you would say. And you can see how they are in FMS mode. And the magenta line is off to the right. You can see all that is simulated here. You've got your true airspeed, you've got your indicated airspeed, and then you've got your angle of attack. So you even have angle of attack being shown right here, which is awesome. And then you have like your timer, the local time, outside air temperature, the ISA, everything. This is all here, your ground speed, which is great. And I'm really impressed with what we are seeing as far as the amount of depth on these systems. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the word study level and all that stuff. I don't follow it. I just go, if you have a realistic simulation in a cockpit, I'm happy. Like, honestly. So here we are seeing the checklist for the first time. You're kind of seeing how it goes with the UI of the last thing we saw, which was like moving the weather and the time around. And I think it's safe to say that's the UI for the entire sim, which I'm happy with. It looks very modern and it's up to date. And you can see at the top, before starting engine checklist, you've got 0 out of 7 checklists there. So you can go before and do the pre-flight. You can do the starting engine. You can reset a page, which is great in case you mess up. You got your parking brake, flaps, all that stuff. And you're going to see that little eye shows up. And it seems like it's the setting to show it, hey, show me where it's located. Because you see how it lights up blue and it pulses. So he's like, okay, I got my parking brake set like that. And you can go down and click that autocomplete item, and it will actually do it for you. So if you're brand new and you want to learn by example, then you can let the simulator show you how it's done. I think this is great. And apparently this is going to be on every airplane that ships with this. So that includes, an A320 or a 747. And you're going to be able to get up to speed pretty quickly. I've always done well when I learn from interactive checklists like this, rather than having to watch somebody do something and then do it myself. Here's a great shot because this is the first time we've been shown the weather radar in Microsoft Flight Simulator. This looks great, and there's a reason why. If you watch here on the weather radar, you're going to see just how perfectly this is simulated. So as we're making this left-hand turn here, you're going to notice at the bottom there, you're going to see some of those windmills. And then when we break through this cloud, we're in a little bit of a cloud here. When we break out of the edge of this cloud, you see how it gets really clear all of a sudden. Now we can see those rain shafts, okay? So look at the bottom of the weather radar and look at those three cells where they're located off the nose. You'll see the cell on the right, see the cell in front, and on the left. And look at the cell in front and look at the shape of it, where that rain shaft is, where the water's coming down, the shape of that compared to the space to the left of it where the other one goes. This is a 1-to-1 accurate representation of precipitation in the sim. And this is awesome. I'm huge into weather radar. There's a lot of add-ons out there for like X-Plane that just don't have it done right, and it's kind of bothering for sure. But, that's a limitation of what they can do in that simulator right now. But this has got me so excited. And another thing is, we're looking at the weather radar, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, oh, sweet. This is the Cessna 208B Caravan. So we're seeing some more of the Caravan here that we haven't seen in a while. We've only seen like a picture of it in the Insider's spot. So here we are shown the interior textures, that 4K PBR material. Look at how it's rendered. That is gorgeous. Now, if you look off to the right-hand side, you can see it looks like that is, that's like it kind of looks like a savanna or something outside. You can see on the left-hand side, the way those trees are, it looks like a savanna. But wow, the interior textures by default look just as good as pretty much what we see from Coronado and all the top-end, guys right now making airplane add-ons for simulators. So we're seeing really high-quality stuff here for a default airplane. And we know that's the TBM. You can see at the top there, you got the way the panel is all set up in the crash bar on top. Just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the lighting. The lighting looks so real. And wow. Here we are looking straight back, and you can see the textures here. And this is, I like this shot because on the right-hand side where you see the door, you see that little, looks like, I don't know what you would call that essentially. Just kind of, it's not like a pipe or anything. It's just it's like wrapped cables essentially. But you can see how much lower fidelity that is. So this is great because it goes, okay, we're looking at a simulator. It doesn't look like, a pre-rendering or anything like that. Or they're not trying to pull any wool over your eyes. I've seen people say that, oh, Microsoft's pulling wool over your eyes. You don't know. We've all seen, trailer for a movie, then we go see the movie. I get that argument, but they have gone out of their way to say, hey, this is what we have, and take it for what it is. This shot here of the TBM we're seeing is beautiful as well. As it flies to the left-hand side here, you'll see that go up. Now, when that goes up, the parking brake, you're going to see the lighting change on the actual knob, and that's that realistic engine. I love this shot here that we're seeing of the X-Cub. Now, if you're not familiar with the X-Cub is pretty badass. I mean, you got a tail dragger airplane here with all the updated gadgets, essentially. And we have a nice G1000 style glass cockpit right here with the synthetic vision, with the mountain range. Look at the lighting of this. This could easily be a picture. Look at how great the snow-capped mountains look, the clouds. And this is great because this is a different style of cloud than we have seen in previous trailers and all that. We usually see that kind of like that puffy cumulus cloud. This one looks like it's a little bit different. So we're seeing more cumulonimbus. We're seeing more stratus clouds involved. And we see the cirrus way up on top. That's looking fantastic. And you can see the movement of the airplane back and forth, and I'm just super stoked for the feel of this sim, as well as the visuals. I mean, of course. Here's the crash bar on the TBM, and they're showing you here how in-depth the systems are based on the sound. This is the part where they were showing off the sound. So you're hearing the clicks and all that stuff. And then you see where the landing gear is. There's a light test mode and then a check down mode, and you're seeing them both use both of those. So those individual switches are completely modeled. And when you see them release it here, and you'll see it right there, just release the light test. He goes to the check down, and you see it flash. So something minute, something so small is modeled that I think it's easy to say that we're going to have modeling on everything else that you see here in the cockpit. This is the part where they were showing the X-Cub flying around, and this is showcasing. We're going to go kind of in slow motion here and move it. The head movement, like that kind of, head shake plug-in feel. But this is the dynamic camera system in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And you can see how whenever the airplane gets into a G load, you can see the movement of your head based off of that. This is all great stuff, and it's really tastefully done. It's not wild and over the top. And I would assume, hopefully, we'll have a slider or something we can do to change that. Look at the scattering, the atmospheric scattering. Look at the sunset. Really, really nice. And we know it's the sunset because we're looking towards the west. If this doesn't have you excited, then, I really don't know what else there is. At this point, we've seen some great, great stuff. I do want to see I will just keep this playing in the background, but I do want to see the cockpits of our airliners. But based off of what we've seen here today, I have full faith in what they're doing as far as the cockpit systems go. This is looking great. This is more than enough on day one to play with. And I think a lot of people were worried about that. Oh, we have a watered down default airplane on day one. It's going to take a year to get something from a developer. And that's not the case. We're going to have some great stuff right out of the gate. And I think that's awesome. So anywho, that's going to do it for this breakdown of the cockpit video. Be sure to go down in the description below. Check out Microsoft's website. Go to it. Become an insider. You can watch this. There's great behind the footage scenes they showed here, and the stuff that they talk about in great detail. Probably more than what I said. So be sure to check that out. Anywho, that's going to do it for me. I'll see you all next time. Take care.